What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is day 5 of the 8th annual 10 Days of Pumpkin here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from Night Shift Brewing, and they're out of both Everett and Boston, Massachusetts. And this is their Pumpkin Piescraper, the 2025 release. So they're calling this one a pumpkin pie ale, and on the side of the label it says ale with pumpkin puree, maple syrup, cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg, vanilla beans, and milk sugar, aka lactose. It comes in at 7% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review, and this can is just over 2.5 months old. So full disclosure, I've had this one before. I actually had this one back in late 2022. You know, some years in the past, I would buy more than 10 pumpkin beers to review for the 10 Days of Pumpkin and then just kind of make my perfect 10-day lineup. And in 2022, this kind of got cut from the lineup, so I just reviewed it off camera. And I posted on Untapped what I thought about this one, and I went to go look at the Untapped check-in, and I'm paraphrasing, but I said, this is an awesome pumpkin ale. And if I remember that the following year for the 10 Days of Pumpkin, I definitely need to review this. Well, I'm old, and I totally forgot. I did not remember the last 2 years, actually. So I saw this show up this year, and I was like, all right, I had that one, right? And I checked Untapped, and sure enough, I had, and that's what I said about it. So I thoroughly enjoyed this one based on my Untapped rating. I don't really remember, that's the thing, but it was actually quite delicious according to what I posted on Untapped. So yeah, anyway, I'm looking forward to it. It does say on the side here, it says how many pies make a pie scraper. We couldn't agree on an answer, so we made this pumpkin pie beer instead. This pie scraper sips rich and delicious with notes of toasted marshmallow, fall spices, and maple syrup. It's as comforting as it's as comforting as a slice of homemade pumpkin pie. Sure, I guess that's what I remember. I don't know. Anyway, a little bit different with the maple syrup in here for sure. Everything else kind of checks out. Lactose could do without, probably trying to help like the body and mouthfeel. But yeah, anyway, let's give it a pour, see what we got going on here. So it's definitely looking like, this is what I want my pumpkin beers to look like, okay? What this beer looks like right here is what I want my pumpkin beers to look like. Almost to perfection. I want that like rich ambery orange color, right? And I don't want it to be like super clear, although kind of have a clarity to it. I don't need it like that. Like the Ellicottville that I reviewed on day 1 was awesome. And this, my friends, looks absolutely fantastic. Look at that beer. Like, it just looks awesome. It's exactly what I want out of a pumpkin pie ale, as they call it, or a pumpkin ale. Again, it has that rich, like amber, kind of orange, kind of just fall and autumn look to it. It had 2 fingers of this straight up light tan colored head. It is now dissipating. It might go away with the maple syrup and all the spices and vanilla and lactose and stuff. It might dissipate, but I just love the look of this one. I'll bust out the trusty. Yeah, so it's not the clarity's not great. You can see a lot of particulates floating around in there. Yeah, yes, you can, and there are a shit ton of particulates. So like I said, the only difference with this pumpkin pie ale or pumpkin ale in general is the addition of maple syrup. You see that occasionally, but you don't really need that. But maybe it's just trying to bump up the sweetness. Anyway, let's get a nose. And again, this is over 2.5 months old. When I reviewed that other one, or by review I mean post on tap, I think it was like 4 months old, maybe like, probably older than that, probably like 5 months old. Nah, about 4 months old. Anyway, let's get a nose. Smells good, but it doesn't smell like that Ellicottville on day 1 this year. That is kind of like, if I'm getting a pumpkin ale that's 6.5%, 7%, that was kind of it. It was graham cracker, vanilla, pumpkin pie filling, not overly sweet. It had a good sweetness to it, but more balanced. This smells just a little bit like deep, rich malt. Not a ton of like the adjuncts. To me, it's like brown bread. It has a doughy aspect as you get from like a pumpkin pie crust, whether it's graham cracker or not. But yeah, just caramel, toffee, brown sugar, molasses, just big malty character. I'm getting a little bit of that maple syrup. It's an authentic maple syrup. It's more of a hint of it than anything, but it's there. The vanilla's here. I would say the biggest detriment right now on the nose is that the spices have kind of fallen off already. Like a ghost of a cinnamon and a nutmeg. This smells less about like pumpkin pie filling and more of like the crust of it. But if it was just like a pie crust, like that doughy kind of pie crust, not graham cracker, it's quite kind of what I'm getting here. It doesn't smell bad. It's just, I think I gave it like a 4.25 on Untappd. I said it was really good, and I need to review it for the 10 Days of Pumpkin. So, smelling this right now, this would not indicate to me a beer that I need to try for the 10 Days of Pumpkin, but I am. And also, the taste can always surprise you. So, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. It's good, but it's nothing near what I apparently thought it was when I posted that Untappd checked in 2022. Again, I stand by. This is just a very it's almost like, let me take one more sip before I say something stupid. It's almost like I took an amber ale and spiced it, which is funny because I have another beer in the lineup for day 9 from Lucky Hare called Big Gourd. Is it Big Gourd something? I forget, Big Gourd Season, something like that. And it's a fall spiced amber ale. That's exactly what this is, but it's not fall spice. It's more of that maple syrup and vanilla. So to me, it's drinking like an amber ale, or you could even say like maybe like a Bock or an Oktoberfest if it was a lager. Because it's an ale, yeah, more in like an amber ale kind of range. Body's nice. It's like medium touch over medium, 7%. It's really nice. The mouthfeel, it has a moderate carbonation, spritzy on the palate, but smooths out in the second half with a touch of creaminess. Body mouthfeel, really nice. Best thing about this beer, much like day 2, that New England IPA pumpkin beer that from Fat Orange Cat, that was body and mouthfeel was the best thing about that beer. Right now, body and mouthfeel are the best thing about this beer. The thing is the base beer is really nice. It is a nice base beer. Again, right up front, malty goodness, brown bread, slightly toasty, caramel. There's a little bit of toffee, brown sugar, maybe a touch of molasses. That maple syrup's kind of, a little bit of hint of maple syrup from what's actually in here. And since it's the first thing listed after the pumpkin puree, for sure. And you know what? It has an earthiness that reminds me of pumpkin. And I mentioned in the couple prior reviews for pumpkin beers this year that, a lot of times people say, oh, I can taste the pumpkin. And it's not really the pumpkin you're tasting. It's pumpkin spices. This one, I'm tasting the pumpkin. Like I do, it does have like this nice earthy, gourdy kind of feel to it. So this is more like, this reminds me of like old school Brooklyn pumpkin ale, where their Post Road pumpkin ale, where that one was just like no spices and just straight up pumpkin with like a base beer. That's kind of what this is, but at 7% and a little bit of maple syrup and vanilla. Halfway through the palate, get a little bit of that touch of that vanilla. I'm also getting this just generic fruitiness too. I can't really pinpoint, but it has like a more of like a dry dark fruit, very slight. The lactose is not noticeable. Maybe it's just helping the body and mouthfeel, but it's not making this sickly sweet. This is not an overly sweet beer. The one thing missing from this, which is a pretty big thing when it comes to pumpkin beers, in my opinion, is the spices are nowhere to be found. Again, it's over 2.5 months old, pushing 3. Maybe they have fallen off. And if that's the case, that is unfortunate, but they released this on August 1st. I'm not drinking pumpkin beers typically before October, but definitely not before September. So like I'm drinking this one, I feel like I should be drinking a pumpkin beer. Middle of fall, Halloween's on its way. We're in October. So for this to be over 2.5 months old and the spices falling off, like whatever. I don't think that's on me. It's not a bad beer in the least. It's just, this is not a beer that screams, post an Untappd check-in and tell me to review it the next year. And that's what I did. And this is not that beer. This is just a really nice, again, if you called it just like a pumpkin amber ale or something instead of just a pumpkin pie ale, I would be more into it. The maple's not that big. The vanilla's not that big. The lactose, again, not noticeable on the palate. The main thing I'm getting here is the pumpkin puree with a little bit of maple and vanilla. The spices are kind of lost. I'm not even getting like a hint of spice. Maybe a touch of like a clove. And what's in here? Allspice, cinnamon, allspice, and nutmeg. I'm not getting any of them. And they're so noticeable. Like all 3 of those are noticeable. I love all 3 of those spices. I love pumpkin stuff. So I can usually pinpoint like nutmeg, allspice, nutmeg and cinnamon for sure. Clove, allspice a little bit harder, but 7% you can't tell. There is a little bit of a warming in the chest, but nothing that's a cause for alarm. Again, a nice firm dryness on the finish. Not much bitter to speak of here, but it's not overly sweet to begin with, so it's a nicely balanced beer. So the things this has going for it, number one, nice body and mouthfeel. Number 2, pretty well balanced. And number 3, I think the base beer is good. The unfortunate thing is I'm not getting any of the spices that would kind of make this a pumpkin pie beer. Like, I guess talking about brown sugar and vanilla and the maltiness and that doughiness and everything that's here, that would scream pumpkin pie, but without like the actual filling. Like the spices make it, and there's just not enough spices here. This is good, but could have been very good into great. And I have to imagine that when back in 2022, whatever can I had was just better because it was older and I went nuts for it, So I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm always honest with my reviews, as I try to be in every single review. And I like Night Shift. I liked this beer 3 years ago. This year, it's just a good to very good beer. It's approaching very good, but doesn't quite get there. So Pumpkin Piescraper, the 2025 release from Night Shift. Best I can do is a 3.75 out of 5. That will be the best I can do for this beer, unfortunately. I do like the label. I love the ingredients. Now, everything about this screamed like, yeah, sign me up. And then I tasted it and kind of let me down a little bit. Is what it is. Price point and availability. I think I paid like $4 for that can. That's fine. Probably 6 packs, like $14 to $18. Or 4 packs would be $14, $16 with that price point. Fine by me. If it was the same experience I had back in 2022, I'd pay up to $5 or $6 a can. It's not. It is what it is. And availability, I have no idea what Night Shift anymore. They're owned by, what is it? It's like Hanley. Say on here. Yeah, so Boston, Massachusetts, Framingham. So there's like, it's like Henley Farms or Henley Family Brewery. They own them, Jack's Abbey, Wormtown, and a couple of other New England breweries. So it's like a local regional conglomerate, which is fine. I love Jack's Abbey. I dig Night Shift. Never had anything from Wormtown, but yeah, availability, probably wherever you see Night Shift. You may have seen this one, maybe not. I have no idea. I just know it showed up here in the Buffalo, New York area, so that's all I got for you. So like I said, 7%, drinks fine, good balance, good body, mouthfeel, nice flavors, but just doesn't hit that pumpkin pie L that they're going for, in my opinion, but maybe you'll have a different experience. So I appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review. That was day 5. Check back tomorrow. We got an interesting side-by-side of 2 beers from the St. Louis Brewery, a.k.a. Schlafly, their pumpkin ale and their vanilla pumpkin ale. Their pumpkin ale is kind of widely regarded as one of the better pumpkin beers out there, and I'm curious to see how it compares to their brand new vanilla one. So anyway, check back tomorrow to the next one. Cheers.